Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we're doing a decolonization chat with a Inuit Greenlandic shaman, Angakoq. Her name is Rakel, and we welcome Rakel here today to talk about her journey as a shaman, Angakoq. Welcome, Rakel.
Brian, thank you.
So today's chat is really hearing about your story, your life story, and how you started walking on this path. And I prepared some questions for you, but we'll go where the spirits take us today. So thank you for taking your time.
Thank you for walking with me.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
been a beautiful process.
Yes, it has. It's been opening for so many things that
Mhm.
you came here. And it has been amazing ever since.
Well, I share a little bit. I'm going to share a little bit about how I met you.
Yeah.
I think that story in and of itself is a demonstration of how our ancestors can work. And if you live your life from a decolonized perspective, the indigenous perspective. So my name is Helena Choi Sohom. Um, I have both a Korean name and a Danish name because I am Korean. I was born in Korea, and my last name is Danish. My husband is from Denmark, which is another interesting twist in this whole story. Um, I've been interested in Inuit cultures and cold places for many, many years. All of my life, I had an affinity, but about over a little decade ago, about 12 years ago, I had my first dream about polar bears, but it's not quite exactly about polar bears. But the dream was I saw on the road a bear walking by, and this bear had a color of a brown bear, but the shape was a polar bear. So I thought in my dream, that is very interesting. It's a hybrid, and I didn't know about such things. So after I dreamt, I wrote down the dream, and then I looked up hybrid brown and white bears. And lo and behold, they exist in the world because of the ice melting in polar areas, in the northern areas. The polar bears are coming down and mating with the brown bears. So it is a thing that exists in the world, and we're seeing more of that. That was my first dream about polar bear. And then I had a series of other dreams that told me about the crisis that we're in through the polar bear,
Mm.
and had an opportunity to visit Greenland and met Rakel through another Inuit person who is a drum maker. And I visited her, and I just kind of went to her home. I said, "Hello, I want to meet you and I want to get to know you." And she welcomed me, and we met, and our spirits met, and our ancestors spoke to each other. We did a drum journey when I visited, and the polar bear was very powerful. And here we are. So I wanted to share with the world Raquel and her work and the wisdom of her ancestors. Um, so here we are. And I'm just going to go directly into my first question.
Mhm.
Um, so, Raquel, please tell us how you became a Angakoq, a shaman.
Yeah, Angakoq. Well, I actually had to call my mother and ask her because I was born this way, and I was 4 when I told my mom that I was going to be Angakoq, a shaman, and it has always been a part of me that has been aware of stuff that others weren't aware of, just like my mom. So it's a path that you're already on. So that's something you are. Yeah, and throughout my life, I have been searching for Angakoq, and I never succeeded in finding one.
Mm.
Besides my mom, but my mom was also colonized and she was afraid of the spirits, and I was that desperate for getting to know what is this that's calling me so deeply, but I never found it as a child or a young woman. I was 27, 28 when I finally started truly becoming a shaman. And that was when um, it can be triggering what I'm going into. But I tried it to commit suicide, and I started when I was 8 years old
Mm.
and continued to be in despair of, being colonized. It's not an easy life. Uh, Decolonizing is even harder. But when you succeed, it's amazing. That's the point I want to go into. But to go into this spirit world, going to die, and then I went to the realm of the dead. And when I went there, I found peace within.
Mm.
And then I opened my eyes, and I was like, I'm not the same anymore.
Mm.
And then I closed my eyes again, and this time I brought back some power and some helpers from the realm of the dead, especially my sister. I started to dream of her, and I started to just do stuff I normally didn't. I just knew, well, I'm going to get well. I'm going to be well. And I just went there. So I had found the connection, but I had to meet rock bottom, absolutely rock bottom, before I started changing the suffering, from going from suffering to healing.
Mhm.
That's that's how it goes. That's how it starts. It goes from not having more choices in life than
Mm.
letting go of the world and go into the spirit world.
Mhm.
So
Thank you for sharing that. It's painful to hear,
mm,
but I also hear your strength and
yeah,
that something was leading you.
yeah. I had no choice, in my family, we have a family lineage in shamanism, and the second born daughter
Mm.
inherit the abilities from the mother, and my mother wasn't the second born, and my great grandmother had 5 sons, so she never had a daughter,
Mm.
but she seeked for the abilities in her grandchildren, granddaughters, and the second one granddaughter didn't want it. She didn't have them, so she had to look for those who were born after,
Mm.
and she saw it in my mother. My mother answered her when she contacted her. So she was like, well, she has it. And she told the others that they communicated
Mm.
like shamans.
Mhm.
So I'm the second born from my mother, who also uses her abilities in life.
Mhm.
And when you're in a lineage, shamanic lineage, you don't have a choice.
Mm.
And if you go away from that choice, you get ill. And it was a shaman, a woman who is getting taught teachings, shamanic teachings from a family in Mongolia, who actually told me, well, when it's a lineage, you either do it or you die.
Mm.
So I was like, wow, okay, that's what happened to me. I had no teachers, I
Mhm.
had none who could show me the way. So that's why I got so ill. That's why everything went so bad. I didn't follow my destiny, I
Mm.
didn't follow my shamanic path. So that's the situation. And I gotta say, I would not change a thing, even though there's much suffering and all that, but it has made me so much stronger and secure and I know what I'm doing, I know why and how. It is, pain is a teacher. When you have gone through it and gone the shamanic path, it's your strength. So to have been suffering for so many years just gives so much more wisdom and knowledge.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't recommend it. Nobody would ever. It's
Yeah.
but it is the path that I had to go to learn.
Yes.
Mm.
And you've gained so much depth.
Yeah,
As shamans, we are the wounded healers, right? We,
yeah,
we must
definitely.
walk the painful path so that we know how to guide others through the darkness.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I would say it's beautiful, and on the other side,
Mhm.
because the roots we grow in that darkness
Mhm.
just makes us able to grow so high up in the light and love that is
Mhm.
uh, in the upper world. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
So, Raquel, I want to mention here a little bit our connection also with the colonizer culture. Um, I'm married to a man who's from Denmark. He's an immigrant also to America, and we live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm an immigrant from South Korea. And the interesting thing for me of going to Greenland was experiencing this colonizer culture.
Mhm.
Um, which made me feel comfortable in some ways because I was already familiar with Danish culture. But I know that the Greenlandic people have been brutally colonized by the Danes. Can you tell us about your connection with growing up with this Danish culture?
Yeah, my mom is Greenlandic Inuit, and my father is Danish. And I grew up in this. I have to say, it is a brutal story, and I will try to tell it as light as I can. But it was my biological father in absolute power, and my mom who had no rights. And that is in the 80s and early 90s. Our lives was like that. He could do everything, and we had nothing to say. Um, and then people say, well, colonization ended in the 70s. No, the official colonization ended in the 70s, but we were living in a place where colonization still was going on, and Inuit didn't learn their rights because the rights wasn't there. The policemen, the judges, all of them, they were white, so they were not on Inuit side. So there it's um, and that is something that is not known. It is a well kept secret, because Inuit still has no voice.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say we are still healing. We
Mhm.
are still suffering in many ways, but so many others had their rights before us in the bigger cities, or had a good father or a good mother from Denmark. So it's not everybody. I can only tell my story.
Mhm.
Um, but it's also a story about, you know, getting away and finding our roots and finding our ancestors. That's also, the beauty of it. So I'm going to say it's more recent than people are aware of
Mhm.
for many.
Mhm.
Uh, and then there are Inuits who are like taking this personally. Well, I'm not an Inuit who is feeling bad or has been colonized.
Mhm.
And good for you. But I'm talking about those who still has here
Mhm.
still been affected of it. It's about those that I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about those who went to the police to get help and was told, well, I don't believe you. I believe the Danish man. Um, and that is that is the truth. And I think that it needs to come out somehow. um, but on the other side, there's also the resistance, you know, Inuit knowing, well, this is bad, that's not good for you,
Mm-hmm.
and still, you know, behind curtains, hiding, I know this is hard, I know you're not doing well,
Yeah.
we are here when you're ready to come out of it.
Mm.
So it's a choice also. When am I going to heal? When is this suffering over? But it can be difficult when um, there's not much help to get.
Yes.
And I know many Inuit feels this way. Where is the help?
Yes.
And that is where I was forced to find it myself, within myself. Desperation, definitely. This, yeah.
Mm. Raquel, I'm interested in the
Mm,
work that you do.
mm,
Um, I know you work with your Inuit Greenlandic people to
yeah.
help them decolonize.
Yes.
Do you also, or have you been called to work with the whites, Europeans, um,
Some has come. Yeah.
because they need healing as well? The decolonization work that I like to think about, it's the it's, it's the colonizers. The colonizers also need healing
Mhm.
from having suffered under the same kind of worldview that
Yeah.
we've developed.
Well, yeah. Colonizers don't colonize for fun. Um, what we forget that is that the Danish people and other colonizers were all had another culture before Christianity came.
Hmm.
So they have been colonized as well. And they have coped and they'll develop themselves under these conditions, and sought out, you know,
Hmm.
uh, better lives in other countries. And well, we can gain from going there. Let's go there. Seeking out, and that's how colonization started. It's because it wasn't good enough back home. Seeking better lives out there.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely, both sides needs healing and reconciliation. It is needed and it is wanted.
Hmm.
I did a drum journey before coming here, and I was walking with Kamik's Inuit made feet, shoes
Hmm.
on the snow, and I could hear like the sound of snow under my feet. And I looked back and I saw polar bears and Arctic animals behind me, and giant helpers, and on. They walked along behind me, and we stopped at a hole, a crack in the earth,
Hmm.
and they were throwing ropes to the other side of the crack and started pulling.
Hmm.
And they were like, we need the others in order
Hmm.
to heal. And then people from the other side saw us trying to reunite this,
Yes.
and they came and pulled this string to unite the land again.
Hmm.
There has been this um, dividedness, and we need all of us to unite this to heal.
Hmm.
Healing is the way
Hmm.
through, and to heal is to also realize we all need to work together
Yes.
to make this happen. And that is the focus here. Many things has happened, but if I'm going to be well, I need to work for the greater good, and not just me. You. We need to come together to
Hmm.
mend this.
Yes.
And we don't do that by pointing or saying, well, this happened to me. No, this comes together by, well, I don't like this, how can I make this work?
Hmm.
Because you only make your life better by actually seeking what means what's within. And as the good old story says, well, love has is the is a great tool, you know. Love has no ego, and love is this uh, great oil to make this machine,
Hmm.
work. And that is what I ultimately believe is how we can take responsibility for how the world is today.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. I think about healers like yourself um, as the bridge makers. I think Spirit is calling so many people who naturally have this identity,
mm,
that you hold these multiple identities, and you've had painful experiences around these identities, but it brought you to a place where you can be a bridge to so many different kinds of people. Um, I have similar experiences of, being a Korean immigrant, but I live in America. I had to be exposed to the Western world so that I can also be a bridge. And then I was able to find you, another bridge, and we just keep making these bridges to support each other,
mm,
and then so that we can do the work together.
definitely, and
Yeah.
that is the beauty of it.
Hmm.
um, the knowledge, the wisdom we grow from this.
Hmm.
And I remember as a child thinking, this isn't what I want. This inner wisdom, knowing this isn't my life, this isn't who I am. And actually coming till this day, knowing, well, this isn't my life today. And it, it seems so impossible to make it happen back then. But now it's like, well, miracle does happen.
Hmm.
Miracle is here. And so many are seeking help, seeking knowledge, seeking this root of beauty that is in this world, in people like you also, and seeing people like realizing, well, I can actually do something about what I fight against within myself all the time. And that hope, that giant hope that grows, changes everything. Like within an hour, of meeting and going out there, change so
Yes.
much. and
Yeah.
and I find, who doesn't want
I
that?
know. Yeah. It's such a beautiful life once you can say yes and open the door. So, okay, I've only gone through the first question, but that's okay. We're getting through lots of good material. Um, so can you tell us a little bit more about Greenlandic shamanism?
Yeah,
How is it different than other shamanic practices, or traditionally in your culture, how did people become or train to become an Angakoq?
yeah. Well, I can tell about my ancestor Sanimuinaq,
Hmm.
who became a shaman, my great grandfather. His story goes that he got beaten up by his mother for stealing or using something he wasn't allowed to,
Hmm.
and he got so mad. You know, he was so furious. So he went to the mountain and he took a rock and he turned the rock um, on a crack in the so rocks, and he summoned a helper
Hmm.
from the land, and it was a crab with a giant uh,
Hmm.
hook claw,
Hmm.
and it was so powerful that he felt like his intestines went up in his neck,
Hmm.
throat, so he never ate intestines again. And that's how he became a shaman.
Hmm.
And it's about the big feelings, anger, injustice, to come to a point in life where you realize, well,
Mm-hmm.
This isn't for me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do something more.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. Did you say the animal was a crab?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Is that a part of the Inuit tradition?
Um,
That animal particularly?
uh, well, not that I know of.
Mhm.
I don't read about shamanism. I keep away from books
Yes.
so that I learn solely from spirits. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to stain the
Yes.
ancestral knowledge, but we do have crabs up here, so it
Ah,
can be a helper. Yeah,
of
yeah.
course. It's kind of a, they call it a dismemberment experience when you're pulled apart and then
Mm.
put together again. Many shamanic traditions have that experience as an initiation.
Yeah, yeah, this pulled apart, and the shaman then goes to the nature
Mm-hmm.
and be with the spirits and learn and heal. And when you get whole,
Mm-hmm.
when you have collected all your power, then you get a spirit animal who eats you.
Mm.
That ego death.
Yes.
Then you are a shaman.
Yes.
I thought, well, when I had gotten eaten by my first spirit animal, I was like, well, I'm a shaman. Then I had a test, and then I realized, well, I'm just a baby, in this still. So spirits know how to keep you humble,
Yes. Yes.
luckily. Um, but you go through a lot of ego shedding,
Yes.
eaten again and again until you ultimately becomes this medium.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the Korean tradition, we just call the new shamans baby shamans.
Ah, we need that here. Yeah, I will say that forever from now. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with being a baby shaman. It's just that you're young. You need a lot more experiences, and we do get more experiences as we
Yeah,
grow.
definitely. Luckily.
Yeah. So, okay, I wanted to know what is the current state of shamanism in Greenland? Are there other people being called to be Angakoq? And who are the people teaching the young people?
Mm. Shamanism has been almost eradicated from Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
As I told before, I couldn't find any teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the state of shamanism in Greenland. I was just in a video of Q's Greenland
Mm-hmm.
uh, about shamanism, and the reactions was like, is that true, and
Mm-hmm.
people started asking questions, and most people was like, well, can I come? And you know um,
Mm-hmm.
but then I was contacted by other
Mm-hmm.
shamanic families, lineages like mine,
Mm-hmm.
from mostly the isolated places, those who have stayed hidden. So I'm going to say it's stronger than we know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there, but it is also taboo to say, well, I do shamanic work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I was raised in this, you have to protect your abilities, you have to hide them, because if the colonizers sees or hears about this, then uh,
Mm-hmm.
when my great grandmother lived, she had to cover her face in black to cover her tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how fear and shamanism came to be in our land. So there's also a lot of fear-based um, relations with spirits. There are many talking about scary stories they had, of ghosts and hauntings and stuff. And that has nothing to do with shamanism, but it has to do with this being curious about the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I spend a lot of time explaining, well, shamanism is sacred and has nothing to do with the scary stuff that they have always seen the
Yes.
spirit world as. Um, So I can say we are people of nature,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say all Inuit has the abilities, all humans has, but we have this relation with nature that makes the spirit world natural for us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's thriving better than we actually
Yes.
think. So
Yes.
yeah,
That's beautiful. Many people are still afraid of shamanism, even though there's so many and many people use them. And powerful people consult with shamans. Some, like top CEOs, political figures. I know that they secretly go to shamans
yeah.
to gain knowledge, but yet the normal person is still afraid of shamans.
I would say many powerful people come to me too, and that is what surprises me. Uh, but I think it's natural. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they have a lot of responsibility and they want to
Mm-hmm.
take their responsibility serious.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, and also they cannot speak about themselves to so many because of they are so high, so
Mm-hmm.
higher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good way to have, you know, someone to speak with.
Yes.
So yeah, but I will also say the common normal people. Um, I love speaking to them because I find it like there are many women who comes
Mm-hmm.
and they bring this home to
Mm-hmm.
their families, to their husbands,
Yes.
and it's like something new grows
Mm-hmm.
every time. And so I will say this isn't just a phase, this is a revolution going on here,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot stop it. This is a
Mm-hmm.
tide wave that's coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Raquel, you mentioned your tattoos
Mm.
on your face, the beautiful tattoos. Can you tell us a bit about the tradition of
Yeah.
tattooing in Greenland?
Yeah. It is a women's craft, women tattooing women, because women were the ones who stayed home while the husbands went to hunt,
Mm-hmm.
and they took responsibility of giving, you know, power to their husbands, their families, their community. So they made tattoos for as amulets to give strength and to gain power
Mm-hmm.
to their community. So what I can say about my tattoo is also about honoring the women that brought us to Earth, you know, and how we have been silenced for generations.
Mm-hmm.
My great grandmother, both of them were silenced, and the one with tattoo had to cover her face. And that is also me saying, I'm not going to be silenced anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say who I am
Mm-hmm.
because it has been so forbidden. So, this is also for me not being hiding my abilities anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
used to know, you know, like put my shamanic powers under my medicine wheel and went out, and I went out as this insecure person who was like barely able to look people in the eye because I didn't want to take their bad energy with me because I put my power away. I couldn't stop the energies from going in me.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, well, I bring my power with me out, and then I can be me, like whole, and look people in the eye and say hi, you know. So it's about gaining my power back, not just for me, but for my family lineage, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for the women behind me also.
Yes. Can you tell us about the specific ones that you have now? Maybe some of the meaning as much as you can share?
I can say the lines are about spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we get these tribal tattoos. These belongs to East Greenland. All of my tattoos will be from um, East Greenland, where I'm originally from,
Mm-hmm.
and it's done in ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I go to a tattoo artist called Beningwa Berida, and she has great contact with the Sila, our original belief
Mm-hmm.
was Sila, and Sila guides her how to and what um, highly personal
Mm-hmm.
patterns
Yes.
that you also do. So this is for um, when I become a woman, you get these.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the women's tattoo in East Greenland, and it's about spirituality also. Like this is for the spirit world, our world, and good luck from the spirit world to our world.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot go into details about sharing precisely what
Yes.
the lines mean
Okay.
because we Inuit are first regaining our culture, and I am not a tattooer. I do not do genre. So it's not my job to say what this means.
Mm-hmm.
It is the artists who should share.
Yes.
So I would also say, in respect for those who revive this, I can only say what it means to me. I cannot tell the details.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. A minute ago, you mentioned Sila.
Mhm.
Tell me about that. Is that a god, deity, goddess, belief
Sila,
system?
yeah, Sila is everything.
Mm,
Sila is the consciousness of the universe.
mm,
And in shamanism, you use your own consciousness, which is this tattoo, I can say,
mm-hmm,
in contact with the universe's consciousness.
mm-hmm.
And to let the universe guide you in your path of life and make sure you follow your destiny.
Yes.
That is what Inuit shamanism is about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Raquel, so what are the ways that you go into an altered state of consciousness to make contact with your spirits?
Mm.
What are the traditional ways that an Inuit shaman would make contact with their spirits?
Um, the way I have been taught by my grandmother, great grandmother in drum journeys where I came to her, she, because it was a secret for her,
Mm,
she had to sit in silence
mm,
and do it,
mm-hmm,
and to sit in her home by her uh, big pillow where she slept. um, she stopped doing drum journeys with the drum and just slept for only 2 3 seconds, and she woke up and came back again.
mm,
That's how shamanism became not there, you know.
mm-hmm,
But before, there were the whole community came and was in this house where you turned off all lights, and the shaman brought in the helpers, and they were bound uh,
mm-hmm,
to the hands and leg, and did the journey and spoke the journey.
mm-hmm,
That's how they did in the old days. But now that I don't have a community, I do the journeys on my own,
mm-hmm,
and I keep like crazy detailed track of my journey. So I am aware of what I'm doing and why, and I can look back and to
mm-hmm,
to do this on my own, being forced to do this. I'd speak to my mother and my husband and a woman in Norway, Amalia, and these were the people I had, no one else. And if I lost so many people on this,
mm-hmm,
because, well, this isn't something I believe in. I find it ridiculous, or this is dangerous. So I was forced. I was on my own in this, and to find my own way, to
Yeah.
find how it worked for me, so it was effective. So now I use rattles to summon,
Mm-hmm.
and I use now I'm so close with my helpers
Mm-hmm.
that we are bound as one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never alone, so I can always travel.
Mm.
um, but I like to do the steps. I do banishment first, then I call in protection, and I learned the hard way. It was necessary. Nobody uh,
Mm-hmm.
told me, and then I summon the helpers from all the directions and the worlds, uh, and then I go. Yeah, yeah, and I close my eyes and I have blindfold,
Mm-hmm.
and then I lay um,
Mm-hmm.
duration of the travel, and sometimes
Mm.
can go in at night when I sleep. That, but
Mm-hmm.
I had to tell my helpers don't do that because
Yeah.
I like control.
Yes. I think it's beautiful. I feel terrible, pain in my heart to hear that the lineage is lost a bit. But it's also beautiful that you're directly following the spirits.
Mm,
Um, it's interesting because in my path, we have many shamans,
mm,
but I was directed by my ancestor spirits to go on my own.
yeah,
Not because there are no teachers, we have too many teachers and elders, but they have been corrupted and, in a way, I believe, colonized by
yeah,
capitalism and materialism.
mm,
So the shamanic tradition is very much alive in my country, and I'm certain there are some true shamans in my country, but because so many of them have been corrupted by capitalism, going after money,
mm,
I was directed to step away from that and just follow my guiding spirits. And it's a
yeah,
very lonely path, as you know, but I think we're not the only ones being called that way. I believe many new class of shamans are coming into being
mm,
who are in direct relationship to the ancestors.
yeah,
And if we can all work together, I think we have a chance here.
yeah. Well, about the lineage, we did a ceremony in 2019
Mm-hmm.
that revoked the ancestors,
Mm.
all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the lineage is still there, uh,
Mm.
and will move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think many of us who has these lineages, even though we don't do drum journeys, many doesn't know how to.
Mm-hmm.
We still do everything else,
Yeah.
like everything. Like I did, I reached a limit to my growing my abilities,
Mm-hmm.
um, that I had to do the journeys, to go even further, um, to um, it happened so without my control before learning, and
Mm-hmm.
gain that control was everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's
and
wonderful.
many are here like that. I like that. Yeah.
Can't believe how much time has gone by. And okay, so we covered a lot actually.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to know, I asked Raquel before this event if she would ask her spirits for a message for the group today. Because
Yeah.
I think it's, as we will get to know each other in a little bit, I think it's a special group of people that are coming together. And so I know you did a journey before this event. Do you have a message to share?
Yeah. When we walk the land, when we walk the earth and look back, we are not alone. We have this great power behind us.
Mm,
We are supported. We are have a great power
mm,
right there, and they want you to know that this the vision that is in Earth, between countries, between people, and that is what I talked about. This working together to
mhm,
come together.
mhm,
We need to work on reuniting
mhm,
us, all of us. And I saw, when we all of us do it, um,
mhm,
working, finding each other, and pull the strings that brings us back together, it will spread.
mm,
And that I didn't just see our helpers, I saw, um, greater powers
mm,
pulling. I saw, um, they were godlike creatures
mm,
that all of them pulled these strings that were going to bring the earth back together.
mhm.
Uh, so when you do work on becoming one with all, it's not just you, it is
Yes.
all of us,
Mhm,
and the universe is with you. So keep on doing it. A shift has started, and
mm,
it will keep on.
mhm,
Eventually, the handle will turn,
mhm,
and majority of people will follow. So keep on doing it. You're doing so much,
mm.
and it will pay off. It will come.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you for the message. And lastly, do you have anything else to add for this portion of the talk?
Mm, I would like to say, that I am honored to be here.
Mm,
I am glad that you wanted to interview, to do this talk. And I hope that any of the messages, um, will be used. And thank you, Mariana.
yeah, thank you so much.